This video is dedicated to Deja Shade. A huge shout out to Deja Shade for supporting the channel. God Eternal Oketra versus Brago King Eternal. That's funny, I was thinking of playing Brago in the next multiplayer game. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you actually want to see that. If we knock that back, are we going to get punished for it? I think because we've got a few draws between now and our commander, we'll just have to hope that we can get into some creatures to cast. I quite like the Thought Vessel to get us into our commander one turn sooner. Terramorphic Expanse into an island from our opponent, so nothing too frightening on that front. Another big spell in Austere Command for us, so let's go for the Thought Vessel. You never know, we might get into an Ancient Tomb and be able to cast our commander next turn. Swiftfoot Boots coming down, ready for Brago, so you would expect them to get into 5 mana before they go Brago so that they can get the boots on there. Yeah, we definitely want to be able to target our opponent's commander. Well, we can go for Honor of the Pure at least, but we're not having the best of luck here. It might be that we just get into another land and get our commander down next turn. If we get into one more land, we'll be able to cast Elesh Norn, and it won't take our opponent's Brago out of the game, but it will keep them from swinging in at us, and they have to deal combat damage with this. Yeah, combat damage to a player in order to switch that on. Now it's Emeria the Sky Ruin. I don't mind waiting on that for now because I think we need 7 planes for this. Yeah, so we're a ways off that anyway. Let's get the planes count up. And we'll play into some potential counter magic of our opponents. Just going in for an Azurius Charm to draw a card, so I don't know if they have counter magic or not. Might be that they have removal in hand for our God Eternal Oketra. And there it is, a Path to Exile puts us on a little bit of ramp in white, which isn't terrible, so we're only a couple of planes away from switching on the Emeria the Sky Ruin now. And their curve is going quite nicely because if they can drop a land next turn, then they can go Brago and Swiftfoot Boots. They don't actually have anything to flicker with Brago though, so perhaps it's not going quite as well for them as they would have liked. We'll take advantage of the fact that we can drop a tap land this turn. And let's see if we can land Caged Sun. 5 cards in our opponent's hand, and well, they allow it. They may well have removal for that as well. And they get into the land that they needed, so dropping their commander and not going for the Swiftfoot Boots, curiously. We get into Emeria Shepherd with nothing to grab out of the bin. I might hold on to that planes then, just in case. We've got 10, 11 and 12 mana, which isn't enough to go for Elesh Norn and God Eternal Oketra, unfortunately. I think we prioritise the Elesh Norn. And we'll see if they've got not a Path to Exile, a Swords to Plowshares. That'd be pretty lucky if they had both. But drawing into all of our expensive stuff, I think we're doing pretty well considering. And like I said, if this lands and we can get -2 onto Brago's power, then at least he can't hit us anymore, and therefore can't flicker a load of stuff. He might end up dropping a load of 1 and 2 mana things that he likes to flicker with Brago in the next turn. There we go, having both Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares, well, we get them out of the way at least. But a bit of a strange one to me, this, because it's playing more like a control build than a typical Brago build, so they do have the haste and the hexproof now. And going in at us for 2 points of commander, deciding against flickering their Brago, so leaving it tapped. And there's a Sun Titan, more big stuff, nothing in our graveyard unfortunately, so I think we'll just go for God Eternal Oketra. And then with 4 cards in hand, we'll see what else they've got for us. Not doing anything at our end step with all that mana. A Ghostly Prison. We can wipe out enchantments if we need to, but I think we've got plenty of surplus mana to swing in through a Ghostly Prison. And with a Ghostly Prison, I'm guessing this is some kind of stacks build because Yeah, that isn't really the type of thing that you want to be flickering with Brago, really. Oketra's Monument, that's pretty good. If we eat some removal with Oketra's Monument, then we'll be able to bring that back with a Sun Titan. I think we play Sun Titan this turn and try and get ourselves into a zombie. Maybe they've got some counter magic here for that. They're doing something. Okay, they are countering that. Don't mind that at all. That actually sets us up nicely for the Sun Titan. And of course, Sun Titan gets us into a 4/4 zombie. Get into the Oketra's Monument, and now let's swing in for 10 points of commander damage with our god Eternal Oketra. It would only take 2 attacks in if we had that Elesh Norn still. Our opponent dealt with that with no problem. Obviously we pay the 2 for the Ghostly Prison. And our opponent decides to scoop it, so I'm not really sure what their tactic is there, to be honest. They've seemed to have, like I said, built it as a more of a control build based on instants and sorceries, which, yeah, you might want to put some of these spells in your deck, but spells like Spell Blast, I wouldn't really consider them a card that you would want to put in Brago. Azorius Charm, I don't think I would put in there either. Yeah, Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares definitely go in there, but you want to be reliant on card draw from permanents that come into play and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe our opponent was just unlucky there, but it's not a typical Brago build, seemingly, if we can judge it based on one game. Anyway, we shall try again and see how much luck we get. Got Eternal Oketra, this time versus Krenko, Tin Street Kingpin. Thalia might help us out against Krenko. If we get into another land, which we may well do off of Wall of Omens, so I quite like that one. We get into that other land that we wanted, that's good, so we'll go in for the Wall of Omens, see if we can draw into another one for the Thran Dynamo and Anointed Procession. And there we are, we're set up quite nicely now. Ruby Medallion for our opponents, so they can get down their Krenko if they want to. Meteor Golem is good for later on. Let's take ourselves into Thalia. And then I think it's Thran Dynamo next turn. And there is our dear friend Krenko coming in tapped thanks to Thalia. So we'll leave Thalia back. It will make it more difficult for Krenko to swing in. It'll have a plus counter on it, but we've got 3 power and first strike to block that with. So hopefully they don't get a Lord out next turn. We'll just try and accelerate past them at this point with a Thran Dynamo. Cavern of Souls in for our opponent. That comes in tapped as well because it's a non-basic land, so Thalia is doing some really good work for us here. Luckily for our opponent, the goblins tend to be quite cheap. Mimic Vat, no, not Mimic Vat, Metallic Mimic comes down. Ready for lots of goblins to come in with plus counters on them. A land tax for us is not likely to be relevant this game. Let's get down our commander. And then I think I actually want to wait for Anointed Procession before we go in for Blade Splicer, so let's just throw in the land tax, just for the sake of having it. And we've got a decent blocker for Krenko now, in the form of God Eternal Oketra, so we'll swing in for 3 points of damage and start to get some life totals much lower. Just seen as well that we've got a friend of the channel that we're playing against, Taxing. Apologies to anyone who ever messages me online. I'm often away from the keyboard, or I'm just not looking at it because I'm concentrating so much on commentary. What have they gotten into now? A Mog Raider. Sacrifice any goblin. Target creature gets +1/+1. So that might make it difficult to block the Krenko later on. A Crystal Slipper coming down now. Oh, and there's another good sack outlet. For goblins, the Skirk Prospector. They need at least one good attack from Krenko, and they're not getting into that. So I don't know if it's too late for our opponent. We might have slowed them down successfully. Let's go straight in for the Anointed Procession. And I think Meteor Golem will be good next turn, but we're going in for Blade Splicer here because we can't afford to do anything else. Getting to a couple of zombies thanks to the Anointed Procession. We'll get a couple of golems from the Blade Splicer as well. That's exactly why I held off. And the golems have first strike as well, so let's swing in with both of these. And we take our opponent up to 6 points of commander damage. And down to 18 life. Crystal Slipper going on to Krenko, and it's +1 and haste, +1 to power. So that's now a 2-2. It'll jump up to a 3-3 when it attacks. And they'll get a bunch of goblins for their troubles as well. So if Krenko attacks in now, I think we need to block with as much stuff as we can to get rid of it. They are attacking in. So now they can sacrifice a goblin. Target creature gets +1/+1. So they've got 5 goblins. They can give +5/+5, which will be 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's just block with a couple of zombie warriors then. Yeah, I think that should be okay. And Krenko goes down. They don't even decide to sacrifice anything. They might just be making use of the Skirk Prospector here and getting their Krenko straight back into play. No, instead going for Reckless One. Power and toughness equal to the number of goblins on the battlefield. And that has haste, but it does come in tapped. We'll get down another land, and I think it's the Skirk Prospector I would rather see the back of. So let's get rid of that with Meteor Golem. And we'll get some more zombies for our troubles as well. But we're running low on cards here. In fact, we've got none in hand, obviously, so we really need to be wrapping this game up at this point. We'll swing in with everything except the Blade Splicer and just try and outrace our opponent. They block a couple of zombies, one with the Metallic Mimic, one with the Mog Raider, so I'm happy to see the back of the Mog Raider. And we knock them down to 3 as well. They get into another tap land. I think the thing that has gotten us into the victory here is Thalia, Heretic Cathar. If anything wants to go fast, it's a Goblin player. And they haven't been allowed to do that, thanks to Thalia. They're quite a ways away from recasting their commander now as well. In for Phyrexian Altar. Yeah, it's obviously a good deck that our opponents built, but we just had a pretty good hand against them. I think we've got them next turn. All we have to do is turn everything sideways. Yeah, just a thought vessel for us, nothing great, so we went all in by vomiting our hand onto the board, but it's worked out quite well for us this time. Any other time, if our opponent had any interaction or board wipes or anything, then they absolutely could have had us here. But there we go. Yeah, so big thank you for Aprotaxin for playing with us. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing this on the channel. Hopefully all of you enjoyed it as well. A big thank you for watching. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up if you did like it, and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more content. And I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.